Do you believe that destiny can turn a childhood passion into a thrilling, life-saving journey through the forests of Montana? This is the story of Sarah Bennett, a 45-year-old American woman who grew up on a small farm just outside Helena, filled with laughter and a deep love for animals. From the time she could walk, Sarah was captivated by a German Shepherd canine named Ranger, proudly dressed in his police vest, and she secretly dreamed of one day teaming up with him for a greater mission, somewhere far beyond the borders of the United States. Curious to know what happens to Sarah? Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and join me in exploring more incredible stories about animals and people across America. After 2 decades spent caring for rescued animals on a peaceful ranch in Montana, Sarah felt an irresistible pull to something greater, something beyond the familiar comforts she'd always known. She couldn't shake the feeling that destiny was calling her to protect wildlife in the vast African wilderness, and nothing could hold her back. But she wasn't leaving America alone. By her side was Ranger, a magnificent German Shepherd canine, sharp-eyed and strong, who'd been her faithful companion since his early days in the Montana State Police Force. Ranger wore his tactical canine vest with pride, a crisp American flag embroidered on the side, and Sarah knew she couldn't face the unknown without him. The day they boarded the flight to Kenya, excitement mingled with anxiety. "It's going to be just you and me, buddy," she whispered, gently scratching behind Ranger's alert ears. His intense amber eyes locked onto hers, reassuring her instantly. She knew they'd be unstoppable together. Yet, beneath her enthusiasm simmered a quiet nervousness. What unexpected challenges awaited them in the rugged Masai Mara? Would their American grit and Ranger's elite training be enough against dangers they'd never faced before? As the plane lifted off American soil, Sarah took a deep breath, gripping Ranger's sturdy collar softly. Their adventure was just beginning, and neither she nor Ranger knew just how dramatically their lives were about to change forever. Have you ever stepped off a plane and felt like you've landed on another planet? That's exactly how Sarah Bennett felt when she and her loyal German Shepherd canine partner, Ranger, first touched down in the rugged wilds of the Masai Mara. Gone were Montana's crisp mountain breezes, replaced now by a scorching sun that burned fiercely through layers of sunscreen, and nights that chilled to the bone beneath endless African skies. Ranger, ever vigilant in his sleek tactical vest emblazoned with bold letters, USK-9 Unit, seemed unaffected by the climate extremes, his powerful frame exuding confidence. Yet Sarah struggled, sweat trickling down her back as dust clung stubbornly to her skin, testing her resolve. But if Sarah Bennett knew one thing, it was the American spirit of resilience. With Ranger trotting faithfully by her side, ears perked sharply forward, they quickly adapted to their new life. Each morning, Sarah strapped on sturdy boots, checked Ranger's gear, and set out to patrol, determined to combat the threat of poaching. Her friendly smile and quiet confidence soon won over local colleagues who admired her courage and tenacity, and Ranger quickly became everyone's favorite, his disciplined demeanor inspiring respect. Despite harsh conditions, every patrol sharpened their bond. Sarah noticed how Ranger's amber eyes keenly scanned the horizon, instantly alerting her to even the smallest movements in the tall grass. They shared unspoken conversations, a glance or a soft growl conveying volumes. Together, they embodied courage born from trust, proving that, even far from home, the strength of partnership could overcome any obstacle ahead. Have you ever felt a chill run down your spine when everything around you seemed just a little too quiet? Well, That's exactly what Sarah experienced one scorching morning, deep in the African wilderness. She'd always patrolled alongside a trusted teammate, but today was different. Her partner had fallen suddenly ill, and Sarah faced a crucial choice: cancel patrol or venture out alone. With Ranger by her side, his tactical vest snug against his powerful frame, Sarah knew she had the best possible backup. She packed extra water, survival gear, and checked Ranger's harness carefully before climbing into the rugged ATV. As they navigated the dusty trail, Sarah felt Ranger tense beside her. His ears stood rigid, alert eyes scanning the horizon with laser-like precision. Suddenly, Ranger gave a low, urgent growl, signaling something unusual ahead. Sarah eased to a stop, heart racing, and pulled out her binoculars. A strange truck, partially hidden among thick brush, sat suspiciously still, engine softly idling. Sarah's pulse quickened, intuition shouting danger. With a firm, reassuring command, she whispered, "Ranger, stay close." The dog responded instantly, his powerful muscles flexing beneath his vest, ready to spring into action. Approaching cautiously, Sarah gestured authoritatively for the driver to halt. Her heart thudded heavily against her chest, anxiety surging as the men reluctantly complied. With Ranger vigilant beside her, Sarah opened the truck's rear door, and a wave of shock and anger washed over her. Chained tightly and terrified, a young, helpless rhino stared back at her. She'd just stumbled onto dangerous wildlife poachers, and now everything was on the line. Have you ever been so close to danger that time seemed to slow, and the only thing between you and disaster was the instinct of a loyal dog? That moment came crashing down on Sarah Bennett like a lightning strike. Just as she reached for her radio to call in the poachers, one of the men lunged, grabbing her arm and twisting it behind her back. Before she could react, the other slammed the truck door shut and tackled her to the ground. Ranger barked furiously, his body coiled like a spring, but the men moved fast. One of them pulled a rope from the back seat, binding Sarah's hands tightly and dragging her toward a large acacia tree nearby. "Quiet!" one of the poachers hissed, shoving her against the trunk. They tied her wrists high, just out of reach, then vanished into the brush with the truck and the terrified rhino. Ranger, though, wasn't captured. He'd slipped into the grass during the struggle, unnoticed, circling wide. Sarah could only hope he was close. The sun was now directly overhead, scorching her skin and stealing her breath. Her throat burned, her vision blurred, and fear crept in. Then, just as her knees buckled, she heard it, a low, familiar growl. Not threatening, intentional. Ranger emerged from the bush, his amber eyes locked on hers. With steady determination, he began clawing at the rope with his powerful paws and tactical harness edges, trying to free her. Sarah's heart surged. This wasn't just training. This was love. This was trust. And in that moment, bound and beaten, she realized Ranger wasn't just a K-9 officer. He was her guardian angel with 4 legs and a badge. Have you ever witnessed a bond so powerful that it could turn the tide in the face of life-threatening danger? That's exactly what happened next. With each desperate tug of his jaws and every swipe of his paws, Ranger chipped away at the thick rope that bound Sarah's wrists. His vest was scratched, dust-covered, and his nose bled slightly from rubbing against the coarse fibers. But he didn't stop. Not for a second. Sarah, nearly fainting from heat and exhaustion, could barely keep her eyes open. But when the final strand of rope gave way and her hands fell free, she let out a gasp that felt like coming back to life. She fell into Ranger's chest, tears streaming down her cheeks, whispering, "Good boy. "You saved me." He nuzzled her gently, tail low and wagging just once. Subtle, like he knew the moment called for reverence, not celebration. Sarah staggered to her feet, clutching Ranger's collar for balance. They had no time to waste. Her mission wasn't over. The rhino was still out there. So was the danger. Back in the ATV, she activated the radio, her voice cracking as she called in the emergency. Ranger sat beside her, panting heavily but alert, ears twitching at every sound. Within minutes, teams were deployed. Sarah and Ranger led the charge, following fresh tire tracks through the dry brush. Her heartbeat matched Ranger's determined stride. Steady, urgent, unyielding. They weren't just chasing poachers now. They were chasing justice, side by side. Have you ever chased justice through the wild, knowing every second counts? And the one running beside you isn't just a dog, but your partner, your anchor, your last line of hope? Dust billowed behind the ATV as Sarah gripped the wheel, her knuckles white, eyes locked on the distant trail cutting across the savannah. Beside her, Ranger stood with front paws braced on the dash, his nose twitching, every muscle taut like a drawn bow. He could smell them. He knew they weren't far. Suddenly, Ranger barked sharply, once. It wasn't random, it was his signal. Sarah veered the vehicle hard right, following his lead, adrenaline surging. And then they saw it. The truck. Caught in a thicket at the edge of the reserve, the poachers were trying to push it free, but they didn't stand a chance. Reinforcements were closing in from every direction, sirens wailing faintly in the distance. The poachers ran, but Ranger launched from the ATV with a burst of speed that was pure, trained precision. His body cut through the grass like lightning. He tackled one man to the ground, holding him with controlled force until backup arrived. Sarah sprinted toward the vehicle, yanking open the back door, and there it was. The rhino, still alive, trembling but breathing. Tears welled in Sarah's eyes as she radioed in the rescue. Ranger trotted back to her side, tongue out, tail low, eyes calm. They had done it, together. Not just saving a life, but protecting something far bigger, the soul of the wild. This story reminds us that courage is not the absence of fear, but the decision to act despite it. Sarah and Ranger's journey teaches us that loyalty, compassion, and perseverance can prevail, even in the harshest of circumstances. In a world where injustice and cruelty often hide in plain sight, it is those who are willing to stand up, whether human or animal, who make a lasting difference. For older adults, this tale speaks to the power of purpose later in life. No matter our age, we can still rise to protect what matters, lead with empathy, and inspire others through quiet, determined strength.